The story of Scrimmage follows Cillian McMurphy, a second-generation Irish immigrant in the United States of America in the year 1890. In his search for the identity of his mother, who he never knew, he travels to the town of New Dunfield, where his last remaining relative, his widower aunt Neith, lives. Not one to give away things for free, his aunt has asked of him to bring her a very peculiar cat in exchange for the information he seeks. Just as his question is about to be answered, however, the cat escapes, and thus begins a lengthy chase that ends in the death of said cat. Desperate and unsure on what to do, Cillian turns to the only logical remedy for his problem: necromancy. The story itself is set in the early 1890s in the American state of Massachusetts. This choice was made for multiple reasons, but mostly due to the connection the state and the time period have with events such as the Salem witch trials, as well as the area of New England being home to writers such as Edgar Allan Poe, but most importantly H.P. Lovecraft, whose work and genre of cosmic horror are not only set in the area of New England, but are also a great inspiration for this project. As the story lead for the game, my main focus was creating and filling the world where the game takes place with characters, curiosities, and lore. This includes the making of a Twine file, which basically amounts to a somewhat stripped down text-only version of the game. This was made mainly to make the adaptation of dialogue and riddles into the game engine as easy as possible. When it comes to the riddles used, they are of two variants. 1. There are riddles that are based on text clues. 2. There are riddles that require the player to make use of multiple items found around the game world, which, when combined in the right order and used in the correct situations, lead the player to solve the problem in front of them. The riddles themselves were made by Philip and myself. Our team's art lead, Philip, had lots to do this semester. His area of responsibility included not only the UI, but all background and character art as well, amounting to a very large workload. To start off with UI, Philip replaced the previous UI, which was taken from a pre-made package, and replaced it with a wholly self-made one. The design focus was set on really hammering home the era the game is set in through the use of brass and gold ornaments, industrial-style decorations, and lots of cogs. The latter two being used mainly in the inventory portion of the game to imply the possibility of using, interacting with, and combining the items found there to the player through visuals. The backgrounds, which were initially not part of Philip's tasks, were made in cooperation with Sabrina. Sabrina was responsible for the rough outline and structure of the backgrounds, while Philip was the one responsible for the final product. As there are many options to interact and inspect different characters, objects, curiosities, and buildings, guiding the player through and to all of these options is an important part of the game design. This is mainly done through the use of light, contrast, as well as color. The character art is split into two categories. On one hand, there are full-body versions of each character, which are used in the overworld of the game, and on the other hand, each character has its own portrait, which is used in the interactions with said character. The generally eerie atmosphere of the game is also reflected in the character designs, as each character has its own defining features, which all play into said feeling. The technical side of things is handled by Sabrina, who also doubles as our dedicated sound designer and additionally works on backgrounds. In terms of technical work, the main part of it consisted of the implementation of backgrounds and all that they entail. This includes, but is not limited to, the setting of hotspots, the implementation of the parallax effect, and the movement of the hotspots, characters, interactables, etc. that happens through said effect, as well as the scene transitions, and much more. Additionally, dialogue and object interaction systems were added, as well as implementing the inventory and item logic necessary to play the game. Large parts of the things above were handled through the Adventure Creator, which provides a great framework for the kind of game we're looking to create. The best example for this is enabling the easy implementation of context-sensitive interactions, meaning when interacting with a hotspot that is a person, object, or building, the interaction is a different one depending on what the hotspot is, which also changes the icon displayed in the HUD. Last but not least, the soundscape is made from a combination of collected sounds as well as two different self-made themes, which were made by Sabrina in GarageBand.